Hi guys, how's it? Kia ora to my kiwi whanau, good day to everyone else, and howdy from Texas, man. I know I have yet to do a breakdown video for the week. I'm kind of getting some other things sussed up. Any of you guys that follow me on social media and even here on YouTube, you saw what I went and did yesterday. It was pretty painful, but it was also the unfortunate late birthday of one Mr. Gareth Mason, aka G-Man, and you guys always know me. I'm always talking about South Africa, South Africa, South Africa. Very, very proud of it, and I felt like immortalizing my love for that country in the form of a tattoo that has gone upon my arm. I'll kind of just bring up the sleeve a bit. It's still pretty tender and sore, but I digress, man. So, like, the big talk on social media last couple of days and even leading up to the Jackals game on Saturday was the placement of a very, very tall gentleman on the wing for the Dallas Jackals. And I think a lot of people being like, yeah, is that the tallest wing ever? And, some basic research, yes, he might be right up there as the tallest wing, at least in modern rugby. And the gentleman, if you don't know who I'm talking about, is Mr. Shawn Clark. Shawn Clark was brought in as, give you a little bit of the statistic or the size of him, give you his dimensions and whatnot. So he's 6'9". For my international followers, that would be 205 centimeters. He's a mountain of a man, 245 pounds, 112 kgs, and, just obviously a very, very, very tall man. And when you see those kind of things, you're thinking, lock. You automatically think lock. And this is what he was brought in initially as. Played a bit at lock, moved out, had some injuries, so he moved out to flanker. And this was the first week that they put him at wing. Much to kind of the chagrin of some people. Obviously, I feel like with all the problems the Dallas Jackals have had, we have had plenty. We're abundant in back talent. We've got multiple people that can play fullback, multiple people that can play wing, multiple people that can play center, multiple scrum halves. Fly halves are a little light in, but, we have multiple weapons. We've got the weapon, Aaron Gray, obviously. We've got Mr. Christian Adams. We've only gotten to see a bit of that gentleman this season. The 10 minutes there in Houston, where he had a nice couple decent little breaks there with the ball until a little bit of a lingering hamstring injury. He got out before he injured it or anything. He felt the tension. So, hey, I commend him for that. I was asking him at the end of the game, are you okay? Are you okay? These guys are guys that, I really, really enjoy. Obviously, can't go without mentioning Mr. Eric Naposki. Speedy Eric Naposki. That's his nickname for me, is Speedy. Very, very fast, very capable. First-round draft pick in the Major League Rugby collegiate draft out of UCLA. Super, super nice guy, and obviously one of our leading try guys for the Dallas Jackals. But we're here to talk about Shawn Clark. This is mostly a video for my North American followers who don't understand kind of some of the dynamics and kind of some of the mechanics of certain positions in rugby. Obviously, if you're a front row guy, that 1 through 3 jersey, you're going to be a wide body gentleman. You're going to be a big body because you're going to be getting a lot of hits. You're going to do a lot of tackling. You're going to spend a lot of time in piles, and you've got to be okay with being in that. I still think that anybody 1 through 8, you've got to relish in those dark places because you're going to spend a lot of time in them from 1 through 8 on the roster. You're spending a lot of time in those dark places. And, it's kind of, I've looked up to a lot of those positions. Guys like Sir Buck Shelford, Wayne Shelford of the New Zealand All Blacks. He relished being in those dark places. If he finished a game and there wasn't some blood coming out of somewhere, it was not a good game for him. And you've got to respect those guys that, bleed, and they're totally fine. I brought up in a comment about one Mr. Bronson Tellis, the Richmond, Texas boy outside of Houston there with the Afrikaner dad, the Danish mother. And, this guy's got a busted nose at the end of the LA game, and he's smiling and talking to the fans it's nobody's business, So those 1 through 8 positions, you've got to kind of have that, that grinding, okay with feeling like you're in a car crash at the end of the game kind of vibe. And then you get to the back positions where you got to be a little more speedier, a little bit better, lighter on your feet, a little bit more of a run. And I bring up this Shawn Clark situation because we've played him at those forward positions, and then we moved him out to wing, and I think a lot of people were like, wow, are we desperate? And it was like the realization that, oh yeah, this guy got invited to sevens camp. You can't play sevens unless you can run really fast. And we got to see a little bit of that on Saturday night, despite the scoreline. And just a background on him, he's from Potsdam, New York. It's an upstate. He did play hockey a bit growing up, so obviously we talked about that a bit. He went to Cushing Academy in Massachusetts. This is an academy that I'm more familiar with for their hockey program. Many, many young men have played hockey there. And then he ended up at Monmouth University in New Jersey, where he played tight end. For those of you who are my international followers, the tight end is an offensive position, but you're usually required to block a lot for the running back to make runs. Or, you know, you'll make little light routes where you'll catch the ball. You might get a yard or two. It's a grinding position when it's in the offensive side of football. And we got a really good look at Shawn Clark at wing, and I was the first person that I know of that commented that this man needs to stay at wing. And the reason being is, you're starting to see it typically kind of much like the cornerback position in NFL, where you're starting to see guys like Richard Sherman who are 6'3", 6'4", big guys, because it was typically in the past in NFL, your wide receiver would be taller than your cornerback. Your cornerbacks were guys that could run fast but couldn't catch worth a damn, is what it used to be, is what the old mentality was. Now they're just as good as the wide receivers usually. And you look at a guy like Shawn Clark with his size, and you look at his opposite. So if he's wearing 14, he's going to be running at number 11. And that number 11 might be a 5'10", 5'11" guy. Well, when you've got a 6'9" guy that weighs, a 205 centimeter guy, 112 kilos barreling down at you, you're not going to be able to make that stop yourself. So what it's going to require you is to pull in the next guy over, which will be your center. Now, if you've got a center that's 6'1", you're 5'11", that may still not be enough. So you're going to have to pull somebody else in, and this is going to leave a space to where if Mr. Shawn Clark decided to offload back into the middle, there's going to be an opening. There's going to be a gap. And that's my hope, that they work on his skill sets, because I look at him and I think of somebody like Jordie Barrett of the New Zealand All Blacks or the Hurricanes of Super Rugby, who's 6'5" and can kick 50-plus meter kicks on a pretty regular, consistent basis. I would argue to say that Jordie is better than his brother Bowden, who is a multiple World Player of the Year winner. I've enjoyed Jordie Barrett since he made his debut with the All Blacks. I think he's a really solid player. And I look at a guy like Shawn Clark. Wow, could you imagine if his offloading and his carrying abilities got really, really sound, and then you got him to use a boot? You could put that man at fullback. Even if his tackling ability is not 100%, his body size is going to be able to stop somebody that's 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot, because he's just going to have a big enough body to just grab on and pull because he's got the weight and the size. And that's why I made this video for my American followers who are like, hey, is this a big deal? This is a huge deal. This was a gamble that was taken by the Dallas Jackals that I think could pay major dividends in the future. Put Shawn Clark at wing. Just put him out there. His skill sets are going to improve, and having a 6'9" wing is going to just be immense. It's a game breaker, because they're not going to they're going to cover, and even if they decide to cover him all the time, make sure there's two guys to the outside to cover him at all times, it's going to expose other parts of their game that give our other players, like Eric Naposki or Aaron Gray or Chad London, Chris Pennell, you get any of these guys, it's going to give them maybe just that window that they need to make a break. Because we've seen Naposki do it. We've seen Kill Hodgson do it. We've seen all these guys. We've seen all of these guys make breaks. From the back, it's been predominantly, obviously, Eric Naposki. But imagine if he had a break, because two guys have got to be on Shawn Clark at all times. It's not chemistry here. It's not brain surgery. It's a basic idea that, hey, look, put this big guy, and it's not like he's big and he's slow. No, he's big and he's extremely fast. He's got long legs. We saw him jump over guys because he's 6'9". A 5'10", 5'11" guy falls down in front of him. It's as simple as just a little hop for him. For those of you who are American, 6'9" means he can stand on his feet and dunk a basketball with ease. Like, he doesn't have to hop. He can just reach up and throw it in the net. Like, he's that tall. And it was just something that I saw that I noticed immediately. And I also just have to comment, after the game, my daughter wanted a photo next to him, and he was very kind to come up and take a photo next to her, because she wanted to see what it was like to stand next to a 6'9" guy. And I mean, he's a big dude, but he's also just very, very nice. He's very, very, gentlemanly, doesn't, has never been rude to anybody that I've seen. But like, yeah, just American guys who are new to the sport. Is this a good idea? An extremely good idea. An extremely good idea. We already talked when I did my interview with Sam Phillips. Him and Shawn Clark are like this. They're very, very close. They both came through the Colorado Raptors program, both former tight ends in collegiate football. And it's just, we're 0-10 now. Let's pull out all the stops. Let's put Shawn Clark at wing going forward. Obviously give guys like Aaron Gray. We're going to be in D.C. this weekend. Aaron Gray has to start. He's a hometown boy. If Christian Adams gets to play, he's a hometown boy. But going forward, man, that's what we need to do. We need to put Shawn Clark at wing, because he could be a potential game breaker for us going forward if he works on his skill sets, his ball control, his ball carrying, his offloading ability. And I think if he could work on those skill sets, he could be potentially a great winger in this sport. Because he's just, it's his size. It's unseen at that position. Like I'm bringing back Jordy Barrett. He's 6'5". It's unseen for fullbacks to be that tall. Like, you'll see them, but it's not common. A 6'9" winger is unheard of. A 205 centimeter winger is unheard of. And I'd like to see a little bit more of it. And I'm sure he, is enjoying the heaping of praising that he's get, because it was the week before, when he played the previous time, he was the tallest flanker in the league. Now he's the tallest wing, and he had his best game, in my opinion. Shawn, if you watch this, you had your best game Saturday. Despite the scoreline, you had your best game, dude. You were contributing as much as you could, and I think if things just start to click a little bit better, he could be a potential game changer on that wing, especially on the right wing. Not so much the left, not yet. His skill sets get refined, move him to left. But that right wing, that needs to be Shawn Clark's right now. That's just my personal opinion. I don't try to second guess the coaching staff of anyone, because I'm not a coach. But that's just my opinion. And for those of you who are my American followers, he possesses the athletic ability to play that position. And if his skill sets were refined, he would have everything he needed to succeed. And that would be a real damaging piece to any opposition, is to put him out on wing. Because even if he's not getting the carries and they're just covering him, that's going to leave other people open to be able to pick up those meters and runs and just possibly add some more points to the board, since you need all the points you can get at this point, guys. But, yeah, you guys let me know what you think. I'm going to leave his socials underneath the video, and just a couple of other things if I can find anything. Just leave them underneath the video, and you guys can kind of check them out and go at him on Instagram and all that kind of thing. Like I said, really great guy, and I think that going forward, this is something we definitely need to think about as Jackals fans, that this guy is a viable option at wing, because he really did excel at wing this weekend. He had his best game in the Jackals uniform all season was this weekend, and I don't think you'd find many people that would disagree with me on that. But yeah, like I said, you guys be safe. I'll talk to you again real soon. Cheers, guys.